Hello, my name is Jonathan Forster, and welcome to the Multi-Story Thinking Podcast. I'm an interior designer and educator. My job is to improve quality of life and productivity by helping people to create beautiful and practical spaces to live and work in. The Multi-Story Thinking Podcast takes an educational slant to the interior design world. So sit back, relax, as we help unravel the mysteries of interior design. In this episode, we speak to Stefania Paolini. At the time of the recording, Stefania was the Global Community and Content Manager for the Plum Guide. The Plum Guide is a travel-based platform that offers rental accommodation. The company's platform combines data and expert human curation to create professional, creative and inspiring spaces and hosts, enabling travellers to stay in homes rather than hotels. I spoke to Stefania with my co-host Kay Hanson in early 2021. In this episode, we discover the elements to consider when judging the design attributes of a home, the questions to ask to pinpoint the nuances of look and feel, the inverse relationship of location beauty and the quality of accommodation, and why posting on Instagram is a benchmark of success for a perfect stay. I think it's really interesting, the attention to detail that you've got there, and from a designer's perspective and also an educator, I suppose it's about getting people to understand what components go together to make a great space.
Absolutely, yes. It is something that we do care about very, very much, almost obsessively, I would say, the details, because they truly make the difference. Our test is very long and it comprises many, many questions. But one interesting part of it is about, for example, whether the home has artwork on the walls. And that is something that we really appreciate. I call them the personality elements, because like the difference between what we're trying to do and other platforms, I would say, is that these are spaces that should, like, sorry, this sounds cheesy, but they should speak to us. The way we approach an inspection, a test, is that we're really trying to understand whether the space is going to talk to a certain type of person or not. So yeah, no, the details are paramount, and that's why we have so many questions, like hundreds. We collect, I believe it's like 1,000 data points. So
just in terms of a bit of background, could you explain, what the Plum mission is and what the service is, and also it'd be interesting to hear how you thought about setting it up.
Well, I love the story behind the company. I always say that Plum was born to make a mom proud. No, but the personal element is crucial, because the company started when our founder, Doron, he's from Israel. He went back to Tel Aviv to get married, and he was looking on a competitor's platform for a suitable space. And he was extremely worried about how his mom would react. Well, we want to make our moms proud. So he spent literally hours looking for something that would be suitable for all the people that were supposed to stay there, and the location and so on and so forth. And what happened was that he was lucky, in a sense, because on many platforms, what you find are reviews that tell you everything and nothing at the same time. So it is not easy to really discern and separate the true stars from the average stay. So he risked it completely, and he booked this home that only had 2 photos. But one of them was of the sea, so it was like on the beach. So he was like, yeah, it's gonna be fine. Worst case scenario, we're gonna just like spend time on the terrace. And yeah, he was extremely lucky because the home was absolutely perfect. But what made a difference was the host, because the host was incredibly charming and helpful. And she had a lot of recommendations about the area. And it was completely different from your average stay. And so the idea was born. Like, wouldn't it be great if we were able to identify the truly great homes? And how do we approach that? And so we created a test. This is like a very wild summary of what happened, but the idea was exactly that. How do we identify the great homes, and what should a great home have?
What were the sort of key criteria then? How did you compile that list of key criteria?
It was a very long and thorough quest for the perfect indices to analyze, really. So we just started asking questions. And that's the starting point for us. So we got in touch with the experts. We started talking with hospitality experts, hoteliers, and designers, travelers, anybody who could be involved in the process of a homestay. And after very, very long conversations, we compiled the list that is, and I'm very proud to be saying this, it has a scientific foundation. So it's not just a matter of opinions. It's not just about what people think, because we also spoke to psychologists. So the idea of how a space can answer the needs of the user was very present when we compiled that list. Mm. So as far as the key elements, it's really not easy to answer that question in the sense that, as Kay knows, we have hundreds of questions that we ask and the famous 1,000 data points. But if I were to really distill the three main dimensions that make the perfect Plum home, I would start with the host, actually. So having great hosts, a host who is helpful and available and reactive, because we all know that a host can make or break a stay. So I would start with the human element, because yes, we are a tech company, but I go on and on and on during my trainings about this, but there's like an element of human curation that is unsuppressible in what we do. And in terms of the home, so the space, well, definitely the quality, which is like a broad term and maybe an abstract term to describe the quality, of course, of the furniture and the fittings and all of that, but also of the design, and how do you ever measure that? How do you measure the quality of design? Something that is by definition extremely subjective. So how do we approach that? And I think that our solution to an age-old problem, and a problem that probably will never be answered, is that we really focused on the idea of coherence. So the design of the home, the decor, should really follow a project. So I always make this example of the eclectic style, okay? So yeah, we all know what it is, but eclecticism means that we are following a project, like we have something in mind, which is to say contamination. So it's not casual, it's not by chance that it happens. So the idea of evaluating the quality of the design, I would say, rests with the idea of coherence and style and having a project. And then, of course, the functionality of a space from like an architectural perspective. So how the home is conceived, how the spaces are separated, are the spaces inducing of socialization, for example, which is something very important to us. So how the human beings who are going to stay at the home are going to experience the space. So yeah, are there enough doors? Is the separation between the kitchen and the living room structured in a way that makes sense, very simply?
Looking at your, I'm looking at the design guide, which is a 50-page document, so it's not just a light touch assessment, is it? And there's kind of psychological and practical analysis, and then lots of examples of what is good and what isn't. Well, not necessarily good. It's probably not the right word. What is Plum and what isn't Plum in your definitions? Because I guess some people might look at the not Plum things and think that, oh, that's perfectly nice, but it's a particular way of looking at a wide selection of elements that build together to create an experience.
Yes, completely. And as a company, we do have a type of client in mind, as anybody. So that's the starting point for us. That doesn't mean that we don't have homes for almost anybody on this planet, I would say, because our mission as a company is truly to help the client find the home that is the best possible option for them, in the sense that it can be absolutely overwhelming to find accommodation online. We all had the experience. It takes an amount of time that is offensive. And so we're really trying to help people save that precious time. Kay knows this. I start my training with asking our home critics, what is the most precious thing you own? And the answer to that is not a thing, it's time. So we really want to be extremely respectful of the irreplaceable and most precious thing that we own, which is to say time. So how do we help people in that effort? And we do that by vetting the homes and testing the homes, and by being super strict, and by doing our job well. And the test is the tool that we use to unlock that.
The psychology part of accommodation just fascinates me. And when you kind of talking about knowing your client, functionality of a space, quality of design, human element, those are the things that really quite aligned with perhaps a brief that we might formulate for an interior design project. So they kind of sit hand in hand, but the psychology of what makes the space suitable and kind of workable and comfortable, that really fascinates me.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy. I'm a huge proponent of environmental psychology. I have a background in cognitive science, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the starting point for anything, really. If we don't understand how we perceive a space, how we interact with a space, if we're not aware of that, and if we do not investigate that very inherent starting point, I don't think anything good is going to come out of it, especially if you think about short-term rentals. They're so tricky as spaces, because like I'm thinking, like, for example, the concept of non-space. Okay, I guess we're all familiar with the concept of non-space by Marc Roget, and hotel rooms, and by extension, I would say short-term rentals, qualify as non-spaces because of the transient nature that distinguish them. So if we don't understand that, the quality of the nature of the space and of the interaction that the human being is going to have, where are we going? Like, we are not going to be asking the right questions. That's my point of view. But I am very biased. Everybody hates me in the company because I'm always like, I'm Stefania, the science gal, because I always come up with, because this is what happens when you are in a space and your brain does this and that. So they really hate me, but it matters. That's the origin of everything.
I think that evidence-based approach is really powerful. I think we talked a lot, Kay and I, to other designers who are trying to find the science, if you like, or the evidence behind what they're doing as a way of validating it. And that's really powerful elements. I was just looking on your design guide. You talk about the 4 elements when judging attributes. Could you expand on that a little bit?
We decided that since it's so difficult to approach the concept of quality, and because, as I said, it's extremely subjective, we decided to break it down to portions, to units, so that we could, be more efficient in analyzing what we have to analyze when we go and test a home. We tried also to subsume different aspects of a property. This is extremely abstract, and I'm so sorry if it's not really clear, but if you take a look at the design manifesto, you will see that when we talk about the shell, it's a mixture of structure and physical elements. So it's architecture and it's design. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think this is we're in the academic world of trying to teach interior design, and lots of people think it's interior design, parts of it is just about decorative selection of stuff. We're also thinking more conceptually about space, so
exactly. And again, the use of the space. We decided to go from the outside towards the inside of a property. So going from the general to the particular. The 4 elements that you mentioned are the so-called tangibles and the intangibles. Among the tangibles, we have the so-called shell, which is what I mentioned before. So we say the elements that are, what's the expression that we use, hardwired into a property. So it's architecture, and design. And then we have the things. So we go from a structural perspective and we move towards the objects inside the house. And then we have the intangibles. I would define the intangibles as what emerges from the tangibles. So it's the look and the feel of the home. It's not just how a home looks. It's not just what a home is comprised of, but it's also our reaction to the elements, to the physical elements.
We're at a stage at the moment with one of the projects that we're working on with the students, and we're looking at the kind of mood, the atmosphere, the things that you can't and we're trying to ask our students to help us visualize how you might feel in the space. And it's quite a hard thing to capture. And I guess it's a hard element to sort of pin down. A feeling of a space is very difficult to kind of...
Yeah, and that's the subjective element that I mentioned before. It's so freaking hard, And how do we help ourselves in identifying that, in verbalizing that feeling and that sensation that we receive from a space?
I guess that's why there's so many questions to ask. It helps to build that profile of the feeling of the space. You know, if there's lots and lots of questions of the finer detail,
yeah,
it helps to kind of create that bigger picture of the quality and the feeling and the atmosphere.
Yeah, for example, in the test, we asked this seemingly a silly question, but we ask our home critics, would you post this home on your Instagram? It's just like a very simple way to ask, would you appreciate spending time in a space? Has this space is something special that really captured your attention that you feel like you have to share? It's something so impalpable that the only thing that we can do is pin down small bits of it so that we can maybe create a global representation.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess in terms of how the relationship between a designer's role is a similar thing. You talk about continuity and kind of the bigger picture, the concept, the idea, the feeling, the mood relates to every single aspect of a project or a home, and those finer details, the things that you touch, the light switches, the taps, the bedding, you know, how the floor finish feels on your feet, all of those small elements, the lighting, how does it make you feel in day, in night, you know, all of those elements should be considered as a designer, all of those finer details. That's kind of what makes the global cohesive scheme work. And I guess on your website there are in your catalogue there are so many different homes. They kind of range from the big palatial kind of over in the States, and then you've got the small holiday cottages, or you've got kind of places on the beach in the city. You know, there's a whole range. It's not kind of one design is Plum design, I suppose, is it?
Absolutely. That's exactly what we're trying to do. People are different. People want different things. They're seeking different experiences, and we are really trying to offer that. So it should be the science of the perfect stay for you. I really stress the for you part of that sentence. Because yes, our mission on paper is, and I'm going to recite that for you, it's to solve the biggest problem in travel, which is to say the unbearability and unreliability of the decision process. And sometimes people don't even know what they're looking for until they see it. It's very fascinating because like, I'm very boring in terms of like personal taste. But I know that when I travel, I look for something that is a combination.
We've all got kind of different taste, as you say.
Yes.
We've all been there where we've booked a place and we think it looks great online, and then we turn up and it's kind of like, it's not quite what I was imagining. Or equally, you know, you could book somewhere a bit of a risk. You get there, the host is amazing. You know, there's a real cool feature that you didn't necessarily know that was going to be there. It's in a great spot, you know, right by all the places that you want to visit. And they're the kind of nice surprises and the nice key places you want to kind of go back to and feel like you're being, you know, it's special.
I think that our website does a great job in terms of offering an escapade as well. We have a lot of homes that have been featured in like in films or TV series. So there's also that element of a shared imagination, you know.
There's certainly I've just been looking on the website while you've been talking. There's some great places. And I'm sure everyone's
on holiday again.
Everyone's really
it is painful sometimes.
Yeah. Everyone's really focusing on thinking about getting away on holiday, so it's a good place to start. And you mentioned your own personal style preference, if you like. There's a wide range of different styles that are on the website. So clearly, although you've got the same sort of analysis, you have got a wide variety of different aesthetics, I suppose. So your analysis transcends just look and feel in some respects, doesn't it? And touches on a sort of, well, or creates wider opportunities of styles that fit into the Plum criteria.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, different styles are absolutely welcome. But I think that the crucial point here is that these styles are built, they're resting upon essential elements that have to be and criteria that have to be satisfied. And again, that has to do with the quality and the structure of a space, and you know, the factual, solid material stuff.
Do you find the difference in location to how buildings respond to your criteria, or is it?
Oh yeah. Oh, thank you for this question. Yes. There is, and I'm going to run a study one day, I promise you. But I am absolutely convinced that there's an inverse relation between how beautiful a place is, especially cities, and the kind of offering that you find. One example that I make very often is Rome, and it's or Venice, for example. It is really heartbreaking, but nice, pretty, beautiful homes in Rome are the exception and not the norm. And we were so good that we managed to, collect all of them. So kudos to us. But it's and in Venice is a very similar thing. And it's not just about short-term rentals, but also hotels. Like, I spent some quality time investigating the phenomenon, and my answer to this is that probably the tourism sector is just a lot like confident in the fact that the setting, the outside setting, is so mesmerizing that they don't need to make an effort to create a space that is satisfying to the guest.
I think that's a really interesting perspective. I was just reflecting with Kay earlier about my experience of going on holiday, in the UK, going to the seaside. You turn up, the accommodation isn't great, but you're at a great location. So, well, just get on with it. Let's go and have a barbecue or something, go and enjoy the view. But there's been a shift, would you say? There has been a shift in the design standards of accommodation?
Oh, yes. Well, first of all, because with our famous competitor, Airbnb, the market is saturated. Okay. So how do you stand out? There are two ways. Either you are extremely cheap, or you stand out using quality. Mm-hmm. So I think that professionals of the sector are very aware of the war of rooms and spaces that is going on. So they responded to that by trying to stand out, as I said, trying to be different by means of creating a home experience, or like even a hotel room experience that was more pleasant. And my idea is that with COVID, the trend is going to be heightened in a way, because we cannot travel that much. So we go nearby, and there's such a hunger for a different experience, like a different setting, a different environment, that we are not going to be happy with what was available before. Traveling is quote unquote dangerous right now. So you're taking the initiative, you're jumping on a train and you're going somewhere else, and you're exposing yourself in a way to some danger, and you're not going to be happy with what you were able to find before, I don't think.
Do you think, forecasting ahead, do you think that the way that people holiday will change? Do you think people will kind of stay in a more local?
Yes, we have seen that. It's a global phenomenon. We've seen that people, at least for now. Well, international travel is coming back. It's just a matter of months, possibly like a year or two. But that is coming back. At the same time, people want to travel. They're getting cabin fever, very simply. But where can they go? They opt for something that is close by. And we have seen an uptick in the interest towards domestic holiday destinations. And that's how we decided to organize our strategy for the coming months. So we are currently expanding in the UK, well, all across the globe, that's true. But we're focusing especially in the UK and in the US, and we are targeting areas that are not too far away from big centers. In the UK, for example, Cornwall and Devon are extremely popular right now.
I can vouch for that.
Yes, you can.
We're down in Devon and Cornwall. We're looking to go somewhere else, though, I think. So, we've got it on our doorstep, but we want a bit more of excitement and opportunities, I suppose. But it's really interesting to see the way in which you put this together, and I think from a design perspective and an educational perspective, the content and the rigor of the process is really fascinating, and it does evoke that what we're thinking about in terms of designing these things. I mean, a lot of these places haven't been specifically designed by designers, though, have they? They're the curation of their hosts, and that's what you're looking for, that personality coming through.
Absolutely, yes. We love our individual hosts. Of course, we work with amazing property managers, but we hold a special place in our hearts for our individual hosts, because that's exactly like a different stay. It's a different experience, and there's that personality coming through that it is simply not what you are getting from a hotel, very simply. And I do love hotels very, very much, but it's just another thing. It's the personal touch that you don't get. I wanted to say something about finding the right combination between personality and openness. I'm going to explain that in a second. As I said, we do love our individual hosts, but it's also true that not everybody likes to stay in a home that is showing that personality that much. Some people are more into a space onto which they can project more of themselves. So we work with a lot of partners, but there is one specifically, it's a big partner in North America. And I think they truly mastered that incredible balance between creating a space that is warm, but that is not overwhelming. And so it is extremely popular, for example, with people who travel for work. I remember when Airbnb started, I remember what a friend of mine said. It was in Austin, Texas. We were over there for a conference, South by Southwest. And this friend of mine was staying in an Airbnb, and he just we were having a beer, and he just said, yeah, I'm staying in this house, and it's this lady's house. I said, what do you mean? Yes, it's like it's owned by a person. What are you talking about? I said, yeah, but like I was outside, and then I came in, and it was her space. And he mentioned the fact that he could still like smell the perfume of this lady. So this is something when a space is carrying a lot of signs of the person who lives there normally, that is not always a space that can speak to all of us.
I guess it's somewhere that you perhaps wouldn't feel too comfortable in kind of spending a great deal of time, you know, if there's too much personality, shall we say, you know.
Exactly. Yes, that's what I was trying to say. It's almost maybe if there is such a thing as too much personality, I guess there is for some people. And going back to my personal taste, that's why I prefer the pretty and sparse. Because I do enjoy the prettiness of the space. I love that, of course. I'm a lover of design. But at the same time, I am very territorial. So I want to make that space mine when I arrive.
There's a difference between character and personality, let's say. So the character of the space.
Exactly. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, you got it. That's what what I was trying to say. There is a difference between character and personality. So yes, character in my case, and personality maybe a little bit less.
How did you get into this then, Stefania?
I started working for Plum 3 years ago. And I was coming from something completely different. I have a master in film. So I, for all intents and purposes, I'm a qualified filmmaker. And that's what I do. But I also studied a lot of cognitive science and neuroscience. So that came in handy at a certain point. But yeah, I studied films and history of art and design. I always had a thing for hotel rooms and homes and, you know, interior design. It should also be said that I am from Milan, and I'm extremely proud of that because it's the capital of design, and I own that. And I'm extremely proud. I was also born on the same day as Achille Castiglioni, who is a very famous designer who designed the famous, you know, the arched lamp. We have seen that in many, many incarnations, but I'm very, very proud of, you know, of sharing a birthday with him. So yeah, I worked in media for many, many years, and then I moved around quite a bit. I was in the US for many years, and then I was in London for many years, and then I tried Berlin for a couple of years, and then I came back to London, and I found the job post, and they took a bet, and and they hired me. I guess that the fact that I had the background in cognitive science and that I was Italian really helped.
That makes a difference. I think and also perhaps something about your creative background, being able to view the experience of going through spaces as it's almost filmic, isn't it? Possibly in some cases.
Oh yes. Thank you for pointing that out. When I started working for the company 3 years ago, of course, it was a lot more hands-on. So I was also involved in the creation of the listings that we have on the website. And I was very fond of the photography organization process. And I remember that I always said to my curators to organize that exactly as a film. It's like it should tell a story. So please keep that in mind. As human beings, we organize experiences and perceptions in a way that is narrative. Okay, so we create a story always at any given point of our day. We organize experience in a way that is a narration, so to speak. So and being that we had photography involved, if you have a story and you have, an image, what do? You make a film.
I think that's a nice kind of metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah. Thanks.
And it's really, I suppose, it's trying to helping people to visualize their experience in advance.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, thank you. I'm so happy that you're seeing that and that you're observing that, because that's exactly the aim. The photography is a very, very strong tool to help a person envision themselves in a space. And that consideration was also part of the idea of organizing the photography in a way that was a story, but that was also enveloping the client.
I mean, that's the thing, is that they're on the website, the pictures tell the story, don't they? And you've got such a nice curation of imagery.
We have a fleet of amazing photographers and that are instructed to take photos in a way that is in line with our discourse. You will notice that the photography on the website is not your usual real estate imagery, because we really spent some time thinking, how should we portray the space? And when I welcome my photographers, I always say, what we're trying to do here is to represent what the space means and is in a way that is honest, but that is also flattering. So I think you can do both. So it has to be accurate as photography. So we're not going to retouch excessively. We're not using artificial light as much as we can. For example, our lenses tend to be pretty standard. So it's like a 50. We stay away from shorter lenses and like grand angles and so on and so forth, because we don't want to manipulate the space too much. Yeah. Of course, from the so-called pro-filmic, so from the reality of a space to the photographic representation, I mean, there's a transition, there's a metamorphosis that is absolutely inevitable, but we really try to give back a representation that is as much as possible similar to what would be the physical experience of being in a space.
Yeah, I understand. So it's about, I guess, an honesty of communication, isn't it, there? And something that people can trust.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I'm getting so excited because it's so nice to receive a reaction to your work that is what it should be like. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
we really try to be as honest as possible. In fact, apart from actually in addition to shooting homes in a certain way, we also add and giving the information that we gather during the test. We also indicate some aspects of the property that should be known so that the guest can make an informed decision. So we don't shy away from the so-called laws of a property. In Rome, homes tend to be pretty dark because the streets are so narrow and the buildings are close to one another, so you don't really get a lot of light. But I think that this is something that the guests should know. So yes, we have the photography, but that's not enough. So we say something, we indicate something true about the home that should be known. We strongly believe that the client, the guest, should be informed. They should have all the tools to decide.
It's really interesting to see the detail, really. I think that's what excites us designers in terms of how you're approaching it. But actually, you don't get that. We've seen the background documents and the guides and the manifesto. For the person that's entering the website, it's quite a seamless experience. It's not design rammed down your throat. So that rigor is in the background, which is quite nice, to get everyone to be super highly attuned to all the details. But it's that attention to detail which provides the confidence for people to look at it and think that looks great, even if they don't know what builds up the feeling.
It's really nice that the homes are critiqued by someone who's kind of in the industry, either of design or travel, or it's nice that there's that extra layer of justification almost to be, worthy of being on Plum's books, if you like.
Yeah, our home critics are our beating heart. I truly believe that. I call them our augmented intelligence in a world that is so heavily digitized. There are some things that cannot be evaluated by an artificial eye. So when I say that they are our augmented intelligence, it's because they are the filter. They are the gatherers and the interpreters of the data that they go and gather. And the fact that we really, really try to pick our home critics among architects and designers or hospitality expert is exactly because of that, because we don't see the homes. You do. We don't. So we really have to trust your judgment. And because that judgment has to be trusted by our guests. And being that you are the filter, you have to have you have to master the chops, so to speak. So yeah, it's we want to be perceived as the experts. We talk in terms of the science of the perfect stay. I have to rely on people who are experts.
I'd like to thank Stefania for taking the time to talk to us. I was introduced to Stefania by Kay, who has worked as a home critic for the Plum Guide and provided her expert opinion on the interior design of lots of spaces across the southwest. It's really interesting to get an insight into the process of evaluating and recording the elements of a home for their guide. There's a really in-depth set of documents that they use which totally decode the interior design experience, which from an academic point of view is very interesting and exciting to look at. But the way in which they package it all together on the website creates a seamless and very easy to navigate experience for people looking for interesting and high quality spaces to stay across the globe. Kay mentioned some of the work we're doing with the students at the moment, and Kay's role as a home critic gives her a unique perspective on both sides of the industry, and she's brought that into the teaching where we've been focusing on materiality, details and finishes that make up the look and feel of spaces. And it's that kind of detail that is really important in creating the full experience of a home and provides the practical and aesthetic components that make up a memorable stay. That attention to detail is something that we really focus on at the University of Plymouth on our interior design course. If you'd like to know how to become a kick-ass interior designer, follow the links in the podcast notes. I'd like to thank Dave Clark from I Am The How for production support and advice in the setting up of this podcast, Kay Hanson for her planning support and co-hosting role for these and our educational podcasts for the University of Plymouth, and Mark Frith for the music. I'd really like to hear your feedback on the podcast. Leave a comment or get in touch via the website or Instagram. Thanks for listening. Bye for now. you.